So they sent sharpshooters up the hill to get them off the hill. Well, the officer in charge of the artillery unit told them to limber up and get off the hill. Well, they were going off the hill, and in the letter it says, as Jackson rode up and told us to go back up onto the hill, I will defend you to the last shot. Now that's important. There's three or four theories as to how he got the name Stonewall.
Yeah.
But this was an eyewitness, and it's written in his hand with quotation marks. I'll defend you to the last shot. Now that's really important for oral history.
Yeah.
Now they have a copy of this. They downstairs. I had Mrs. Rissler before she passed away. I wanted to get it saved, and you'll want to read that. And you can't read that; it's too hard to read. I just made multiple copies while I was doing that, but that is it's somewhere on the, I don't know, the second or third page where he makes a statement. If you, I'll find it for you if you want me to.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But there's a lot of words left out because they couldn't make them out.
Couldn't make them out. Yeah.
Now a professional probably could.
Sure.
With the examination with the microscope or something.
That's crazy. So both you and your wife were members of the commission, right? The county commission?
No. Neither one of us was. I didn't win.
Okay.
I won the primary by 3,000 votes, and then got beat out by my neighbor to the west of me.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you both ran though, right? Did you and your wife run for county commission?
She was one of the first women to ever run for the commission, and she got beat because Mr. Rissler got in the primary, and she beat Chiz Strider, and in the primary, but the Rissler boy hopped in because his dad was the head of the state road department out there, and they're a well-known family in Jefferson County. And there's still a Rissler farm there, and they're good people. But he jumped in the race at the last minute and took all the Cabletown vote because he was a Cabletown boy. Took all the votes from her, and then she only lost by I think 3,300 votes. I think. Really? And she beat Chiz Strider, who was the sitting commissioner.
Right.
And Reva liked Chiz, and Chiz liked Reva. But Reva was always interested in politics. Her secret was she never wanted anything out of it. She never wanted to be on a woman's commission. She never wanted to be a president of something. So she said, I just want to name good people to run for the Democratic Party, and then I'm going to get out and work for them when I get them to run. And that's what she did.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. She did some interesting things through oral history. There were witnesses, and there was a photograph taken, but she never could find out who took the picture. When Bill Clinton came to Harper's Ferry with his vice president, that's one of the few times when the two of them were in the same location at the same time, because they're always afraid of someone doing it. But at any rate, she was well known in West Virginia as a real worker in the Democratic Party, and she was head of the Democrat Party here in Jefferson County. Our car was one of them. She drove with some of the entourage that came with Clinton to Harper's Ferry that day. And I don't know who she was hauling, but it might have been reporters that were assigned to. It might have been cabinet members. I don't know who it was. Anyhow, she was standing right down at the point of the two rivers. That's where the podium was, and he was going to make a speech down there. And Clinton, she was standing right next to President Clinton. I've teased, well, until she passed away, I teased her about it all the time. So it's a wonder you didn't end up on the ground in handcuffs behind your back. Anyhow, she was standing right beside Clinton, and someone came by. He was drinking a cup of coffee, and someone came by and bumped his elbow and spilled coffee on his white shirt. And he was getting ready to make a speech.
Oh no.
Reva was an old farm girl,
Yeah.
and she always carried tissues in her pocket. She pulled out a clean tissue out of her pocket and said, "Here, Mr. President, let me get that for you before it stains everything." And so she was patting his here, and she got down here by about his belly, and she said, "Now you'll have to take it from here, Mr. President." And his whole staff around him and all the people heard it, and they knew exactly what she meant by that.
Oh
"Here,
my
Mr.
God.
President, you'll have to take it from here," because he was a little loose. But at any rate, and someone took a picture of it. She tried for years until she passed away to find out who took that picture, because I'd love to have a picture of that. But
that's crazy.
anyhow, that's a true story about my wife.
Wow. So there's
What
two
else
things.
do you
I don't
want
want to. I don't want to hold you up too long. I know you got hay to cut or whatever.
I'm procrastinating now. Anyhow,
Okay.
I'm talking about something I love, history.
So there's two things I want to ask you about. One is about Sam Michaels. Whatever you think, remember about Sam Michaels, his suits, when you first met him, all the.
Sam Michaels came to the Brunswick Moose every Saturday night for the first half of the evening. We'd pay for an hour and a half, or an hour and 15 minutes, and then we'd take a half-hour break, and then we'd play for another hour and 15 minutes. That was the 3 hours that we played.
Mm-hmm.
And until intermission, he was always at the Brunswick Moose. He always wore a white dinner jacket and with a rose in a flower in his lapel, either some kind of a flower. I don't know whether it was a rose or not. And of course he was a gay gentleman, and he had his little buddy that stayed with him, and I think he was mentally challenged. I believe. I don't know the history on him though, but he wore rouge on his face. I mean, it was obvious that he was gay.
Right.
But everybody treated him good. He was there every Saturday night, and I don't know if he ever danced or not. I don't remember. I just don't remember. And I blew the whistle for the Paul Jones, so I'd get free drinks out of that, because when somebody wanted to dance with a certain lady, they'd point her out to me, and I'd say, "Well, okay, I'll take care of it." So
how did that work?
It worked great. I never bought anything the whole time I worked there for 13 years. But anyhow, it was funny. And so my wife had a favorite dance partner that he was a big, tall guy, and of course Reva was tall. And he was a good dancer. He was so smooth, and he loved to dance with Reva, and Reva liked to dance with him. So I fixed him up all the time, and he was always happy about that. So was Reva.
So,
but
did you ever go out
but he had that zoo out at his farm.
Yeah.
And it had exotic animals out there. He had I don't know what all the animals he had out there, but then I just know that there was some question about the death of his little buddy. They found him in the cistern, drowned, and they often thought that was very strange for him to fall into that. That I think that nothing was ever come of it, but there was a lot of suspicion about the death of that little fellow.
Yeah.
And but at any rate, but he left the farm to the county, didn't he? And it's been put to good use. It's a really nice place out there. And it's being used for the county and the youth in Jefferson County, and we got a lot of things going on there. So that's wonderful for people to do that. And he didn't have any children, I don't think.
I don't think so.
And but that's all I knew about him. But every Saturday night he was there for an hour and 15 minutes. Then he'd go up to the Hawaiian nightclub up on the hill, just off on old Route 11. And was that 11? No, 40, I guess it was 40. Yeah. No, it was Route 11. Yeah. No, 340. It was up on 340. Yeah, 340 goes through Knoxville. Pardon me. And at any rate, yeah, he was there every Saturday night, and I was there for 13 years every Saturday night.
Really?
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started? You were a teenager, right?
I was a junior in high school.
Junior high school.
I
What year was that?
Late in my junior year, like March or April, May or something like that. And
Of what year?
I don't know, 56, I guess.
56.
56 or 57. I graduated in 57.
Okay. So when did you meet Patsy?
When I started playing for Bill,
Okay.
because they had just broken up when I started with him. But she would come back to the Brunswick Moose and visit, sometimes by herself. And of course, everybody down there loved her. And they'd always come up to Bill and say, let her sing, let her sing. And Bill would pretend like he didn't want to, but he really wanted to because he was crazy about her. He really was. And but then she would always sing, and she could sing high, she could sing low, she could sing fast, she could sing slow. You know, a lot of singers can't go all four directions like that. And she had a certain step to her when she danced, when she sang, with a dip, and little Patsy Peer did the same thing. And now there's a lady that used to run the Rainbow Inn up there. What's her name? Ruffner.
Yeah.
She is the nearest to Patsy Cline that I've ever heard.
Really?
She can sing all Patsy Cline's songs, and she's done it for years. She had the last couple of years. She's had big shows up there at Orchard Inn. I've been to two of them, and I didn't go to the last one, but my daughter did. And I had something else going on that night, but and I've got video of it inside there because they had all the people, the country music stars, and the old people, and I gave her some pictures of Bill Peer and the Melody Boys, and but her voice was. Now I played behind Patsy Cline what 4 or 5 times probably, and I always had a rear view of her, you know? And her voice was just fantastic, and she could growl with it, you know. She could do anything, and little Patsy Peer emulated her too.
Yeah.
But this lady has it down pat. Her voice is almost identical to Patsy Cline's. I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference if I heard. The only thing I would hear different would be the band playing behind her. That's the only thing. It wasn't a very professional musician behind her first hit songs. It was kind of it's kind of the difference between a Ford and a Cadillac. Only a musician would pick that out, but the voice was identical. But anyhow, that's another issue.
So do you still have pictures of Patsy with Bill and the?
I was a high schooler.
Yeah.
And
you don't keep all that.
I wasn't into country music at that time.
Yeah.
And
you were rock and roll, right?
Well, I liked rock and roll, and I played with the Roscoe and the Green Men for 6 months. That's another story. I don't know if you want to hear it or not, but is there anything else you want me to cover that you've got?
Covering. Yeah.
I want to.
The board, the segregation, agriculture, Sam Michaels, the orchards, Mr. Bird's orchards, the civic groups.
Well, Senator Harry Flood Byrd was he was the third ranked senator. He was in line for the presidency because he was president pro tem of the Senate. Say third or fourth in line. I think fourth in line, I believe.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, the speaker's third after the vice president, I think. But anyhow, my memory of history is getting smaller every year. But he gave me his suit. He would come to the farm, to the orchard, and he'd put on old dirty khaki pants and a white shirt that was soiled, and he'd walk out in the orchard and talk to the orchard managers out there and walk around, and he'd come up to the house. My mother worked during the fall of the year. She kept track of every truckload of apples that came into the packing shed from the whole 1,100 acres. Who the driver was and how many bushels he had on his truck.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got paid a whole 10 cents a load.
A load?
Extra bonus for. So the most they could make would be $1 or more, and they were only making probably $1 an hour to make at that. But anyhow, so they could make an extra $1 with 10 loads. See?
Ooh.
And the old gentleman that worked for me on the farm until he was 82, he was one of those drivers, and very dear friend. I got lots of pictures of him, and he told me a lot of history about Cloverdale, because he worked for Mr. and Miss Nick when he was 16 years old and lived in my bed. He stayed in my bedroom.
Really?
Yeah, in my house where I live now, and there was another gentleman that stayed there with the cooks at any rate,
Mm-hmm.
But.
So the house you live in now, is that?
The Senator Byrd would come up with my dad and mother for lunch, and he'd come up to the house and eat lunch, or he'd come up and eat supper.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went to Europe a couple times, he brought back some little old figurines for my mother, and I've got them in my whatnot case now.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me his suit that he wore to. It's a white suit with a vest. Now, he was a short man, but kind of rotund. But I wore it for a costume party one night, a fundraiser over in Frederick for the who was it for? I forget now. But anyhow, I wore that thing. But he wore it to Roosevelt's inauguration. One of the inaugurations that Theodore Roosevelt had, because he was in the Senate at that time, see.
Holy
and
smokes.
he gave me that suit, and I got to meet his brother. He had his brother down at the packing shed during the summer when I was working down there, and I was thinning apples in the orchard, and then on Saturdays when I was in school, I'd work at the elevator that when the apples would come in, they'd dump the apples into conveyors that ran up to up the hill that were square a hole, so any apple smaller than that square would drop through, and it would fall down on a belt that would come to the side, and we had beer crates, and we'd stand there. I got 50 cents an hour to stand there, and when that crate got full, we'd slide another crate in there real quick and stack that one, and they would be juice apples.
Juice apples.
But on Saturdays I'd get to do that. You know, that was a little extra money for me. But he had his brother with him, Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
Really?
Yeah, I got to shake hands with him. I didn't wash my hand for a whole week. Yeah, there it is, buddy. And he told me a story about he used one tea bag. This is the only thing I remember him telling me, that he used one tea bag like 20-some times.